So I'm sure a lot of you probably saw that Need for Speed has basically been put on hold because Criterion is working on Battlefield now, or at least being part of that franchise. Which right off the bat, guys, let me know your thoughts on that, by the way, okay? Because I'm really insanely mixed on this, I'm not going to lie. But let me know what y'all think about that with Criterion basically working on Battlefield. Now, the one thing I want to say, though, is we never know. Another Need for Speed really could come out in the future. I'm having some hopium here, all right? Let me have some hopium, you know what I mean? But to be honest, though, I think one of the biggest issues that really does worry me with this, though, is it's basically becoming another racing franchise that simply disappeared. Now, we probably all do know at this point that Need for Speed is probably one of EA's biggest racing IPs ever. Now, we all do know there is more of them, and do not worry, I will talk about that in a second. We have Burnout, really miss those games, my goodness. Dirt, Project Cars. There's other games in the entire franchise that many people do obviously miss. Need for Speed, though, was one of the biggest ones they had pretty much since the early 2000s, dating all the way back to something like Need for Speed 2 and all that, Hot Pursuit 2. We also had Need for Speed Most Wanted, Need for Speed The Run, and I could keep going through Carbon, even Need for Speed back in the 90s. So there is a lot of these games that really did come out and have been going strong for over 20 years. And to be honest, it really does hurt because this had a huge fan base, guys. Anybody that thinks Need for Speed isn't perfect, because to be honest, it isn't. But man, did so many of them have such a unique identity to them that really got people hyped up, or at least interested in what the games were doing. I really do think this is kind of something I thought about, guys, because Need for Speed really was a big part of the entire racing genre, and knowing that this entire thing is basically kind of gone, or at least it's another racing franchise that kind of faded away compared to some of the other favorited franchises that currently have also been shelved, for that matter. We all do know one of the best racing franchises ever, Burnout. People love these games so dang much, guys. They were fun, chaotic racers. I actually did end up finding Burnout 3. I am going to start playing that on the PS2 as well. Let me know if you guys would like to see some videos on that, by the way. It's on the original PS2, so it's not an emulator. Keep that in mind. That was the one I was able to find anyway, but I did play Burnout Revenge on the PS2, then also got it again on the Series X, as I absolutely loved that game. And then also, we had Burnout Paradise, which was a very fun game by itself as well. I really enjoyed that one. But the other part, though, is we also had the Dirt franchise, which honestly kind of hurts as well to see this one go away. The first Dirt came out, I think it was 2006-ish, 7. Then we had Dirt 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 was a little bit weird, but funny part is, I might be alone here. The driving on there was honestly pretty fun. I like the handling. But that was another racing franchise that basically just went away. I mean, we also had the WRC, which I do know KT had the license before. Then EA also got it. EA basically got rid of it, and now KT has it again. That is definitely super unfortunate. Hopefully they could do better with it than what they were doing previously, or some of their other games that have been massive flops. And also, guys, do not forget Project Cars. I never actually played these games, but a lot of them were also delisted, so yeah, good luck trying to play some of those, which is insane. Project Cars for me basically took over what Need for Speed Shift would have, at least back then, and I was probably a weird part of the minority where I actually liked Need for Speed Shift. At least I kind of liked how they took a different approach, and that was again an entire thing of them always trying to do something unique. Now, you could say they tried to copy Gran Turismo, but Need for Speed Shift was honestly a different game, and it's kind of insane that there is so many games in this entire thing of EA that pretty much just faded away, man. And now Need for Speed is also going to be part of this, dude. It really is insane. That's another big racing IP that went dormant. You guys probably did see me talk about the entire racing game competition thing, and this falls literally right into that, bro. It's the same thing. Without Need for Speed, the other games really have another big game that is not there anymore, meaning they also don't have to try as hard, because to be real, what is actually trying to make them go, oh, we need to innovate a little bit? It is honestly terrible, because I'm looking at this and you're seeing how the series don't have releases anymore. You're going, oh dang, so the entire genre is losing another established franchise. And the worst part is, there is not anything really replacing it, dude. Guys, what is going to replace Need for Speed? Now, we do know Clutch is coming. That game looks cool. But also, I'm going to say this, it's not Need for Speed, okay? Clutch does look very cool. It's going to be its own unique thing, which I think is needed. That's awesome. But we still do not have Need for Speed. Nothing really has replaced Dirt or Can, especially the old ones, by the way. 2 and 3, even 1. Love those games so dang much. They were so much fun back in the day, and nothing really could replace those because even Dirt had its own type of rally and crazy type of identity to it that other games just didn't really touch. We all do know Burnout fell into this as well, guys. This is why this is disappointing, okay? Burnout had crazy stuff going on, insane chaotic races, some of the craziest crashing ever, and really fun chaotic racing that was pretty much everywhere. Also, Project Cars kind of had a side of sim to it, which we all do know as well. Kind of like the side of Shift, even though that was more arcadey, but Project Cars kind of took that up a notch and then built upon that a little bit. And then obviously Need for Speed was just over here with its own type of arcade racing that was also a street-focused racing thing with police and different things that so far no game can even replicate or even do. And we also have other franchises like, you guessed it, Test Drive Unlimited. I remember seeing them say something about it, saying that the AI police or something would be too hard to do or have them driving around, guys. So there really is nothing taking over the Need for Speed part of this entire genre. So I also really do imagine what Need for Speed could have been even before if the game had the proper development cycles or at least the proper time to really make the games and get them out correctly and not rush them. One thing I have been noticing is people are saying the newer Need for Speed games are terrible because they were rushed out. Funny part is, guys, they started doing this over 15 years ago. Need for Speed Undercover was rushed out. They were pretty much making 1 or 2 games at the same time and trying to push them out even back then. So EA was kind of doing that back then, and then we're also noticing nowadays that it's kind of happening pretty much all over again. We have Payback, and then we saw this in Need for Speed Heat with the game clearly not getting enough time in development. Then they pretty much go, okay, well, it's out now. It didn't do that great. Let's move on. We then did end up seeing Need for Speed Unbound, which also had a pretty big quiet time in it. Then it finally started to get updates. So I kind of wonder and also think about how these games truly could be if we were getting really good, proper development cycles on them and they weren't really just rushing them out. And that's the thing, though. I don't want yearly releases of a game like that if it's going to come out mid every time, bro. Why even do that? Like, you guys are just trying to grab money, which is kind of my concern with Battlefield. Are they trying to just grab money like what Call of Duty's doing? Because let me tell you, that ain't gonna work, bro. I would personally rather have a great game that might end up taking a few more years or at least giving them the proper time to work on the game. That way, we could end up getting better releases because I really do think about if Need for Speed Heat had the proper cycle, it wasn't just rushed out. I really think about the longer campaign it could have had, the more game modes, the overall design. I bet you that game would still be going right now. We probably wouldn't even need for Speed Unbound because I think a lot of players at this point are noticing that. And guys, you know what? The other part of it, dude, is I'm going to say something right now. Let me know your thoughts. The thing is, I kind of think other people might agree, though, is EA does not seem to be very good with post-launch support at all, bro. Live service games are a whole issue in themselves, and I feel like all the games EA puts out, or a lot of them, seem to be almost worse than every other area. I mean, look at Battlefield, bro. Completely bombed until way later on in the game's life cycle. Need for Speed Heat was a complete bomb on updates. Need for Speed Payback, another bomb there. Then also 2015 could have been better as well, even though that game had the prestige system. It was kind of cool with how you could do that stuff. And then also Unbound had the single player, which was kind of just a failure, honestly. Then the multiplayer was good, but way later on. I kind of think about that, man. Like, give them the proper time to get a good game out on top of everything else. Don't just completely shelve the franchise because you don't think the games are profitable or they're not really working. I think with the proper design of taking back what the old Need for Speeds had, seeing how much people loved Heat, and then really putting all of that stuff into one game and properly working on it and giving the developers time to do it, you could literally have one of the best racing games ever. But honestly, at this point, I really don't know if that's ever going to happen, man. Looking at the route this is going, I honestly think it's terrible because there's so many great racing franchises just sitting on the sidelines or they have been shelved. Really does make me wonder exactly where the racing genre is honestly going.